Hello and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for joining us to celebrate International Nurses Day 2021. My name is Leanne and I am one of the health coaches here at Zevo Health. I hope that today can offer some insights and some helpful tips for dealing with the added pressures and stress of work and creating that work-life balance and just taking care of your own well-being during the pandemic and throughout. So just before we start today, just a brief note to mention that though Zevo Health is committed to supporting you on your journey toward improved health and well-being, our trainings do aim to provide you with high-quality information, supplemented with practical tools, practices, and behavior change strategies. However, it is important to know that our content and recommendations are general in nature and do not address specific individual needs that may apply to you. So our content is not a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. So please do seek the advice of a medical professional with any questions or concerns that you may have regarding your health. So once again, you're very welcome to today's webinar. And today we will be discussing some of the impacts that the COVID-19 pandemic has had on professional and personal lives, and just the added stresses and pressures that has brought. Taking a look at the impact that has on physical and mental well-being, how to spot some of the signs of stress and burnout, and just some practical tips for well-being and self-care and for intervention and healthy coping skills along the way, with a brief recap then to end, and just some takeaways that might be helpful to kind of introduce some more self-care rituals and stress management tools into your day. So before we begin today's webinar, I'd just like to extend a heartfelt thanks to all the nurses and indeed all healthcare and frontline workers for your efforts and sacrifices through the current COVID-19 pandemic. The challenges of the past year really have had such a far-reaching impact, and it is such an unprecedented time. For those on the front lines navigating the personal challenges that this year has brought, as well as the professional challenges, while also supporting patients and clients and their families through this difficult time, the sacrifices really have been immense, and we'd like to share our sincere gratitude and appreciation for the grace and compassion with which you've continued to carry out your roles and your commitment to the community and your patients. It truly is inspiring, and we would like to extend our gratitude for that. We'll move now to take a look at some of the lifestyle impact of the pandemic. So, as we're all aware, there really has been a huge change over the past year, and likely a change that will last into the future. And the pandemic really has had a major impact on mental health. So things such as, increased levels of stress and anxiety, the lockdown procedures and other restrictions have resulted in unprecedented professional, social, and lifestyle changes. So things including significant changes in operational process and safety protocols, our own behavioral habits, personally and professionally, how we interact with colleagues and clients, how we interact even with friends and family, professional and personal routines, social outlets, access to, peer and social support, our hobbies, substantial modifications in lifestyle, from restrictions have essentially imposed a real triple threat, whereby existing stressors have been emphasized, further stressors and pressures have been introduced, and then access to a significant proportion of our usual coping resources and outlets have been restricted. So, family sports, time spent with friends, physical exercise facilities, sports clubs, and other hobbies, special interest groups, self-care practices, things like going to a spa or going on holidays, the opportunity for travel, and this has all really created a precarious imbalance for offsetting occupational stress and general life stress, really. Let's take a look now at some of the impacts of those added stresses and pressures on our physical and mental well-being. So as we know, prolonged stress can lead to significantly detrimental psychological and physiological outcomes. So, on the physiological side, you've got things including cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, muscular pain and fatigue, and then, mental health issues such as anxiety and depression, with, research beginning to show even that the effects of chronic stress such that we're observing here through the pandemic, can result in depleted coping resources as well. So increasing our stress reactivity as well, and then negative emotional responses to stress, which potentially have severe long-term implications for both our physical and our mental health. So, emerging research is indicating that physical inactivity, dietary changes, weight gain, increased digital screen time, as well as, negative coping mechanisms such as risk of, using alcohol, and other addictions, which are growing, which are associated with prolonged lockdown. So, disrupted sleep changes and, sleep patterns such as difficulty falling or staying asleep, perhaps waking up during the night or not getting a kind of quality sleep, that have also been linked with the pandemic. And this has, a severe and wide-reaching impact on other areas of our lives. So it has direct implications for our mood, emotional regulation, energy levels, concentration, mental and physical health. The list goes on. So, stress-related fatigue, another one defined by the Mayo Clinic as a nearly constant state of weariness that develops over time and reduces your energy, motivation, and concentration. So this has also emerged as a primary symptom of the pandemic. The increase in stressors, coupled with the barriers as such to engaging with our usual coping strategies, and stress management buffers, has led to basically this kind of perfect storm, if you will, for increasing our stress levels and simultaneously depleting our capacity for resilience and emotional toughness to withstand that added stress, or to diffuse it. So it's really crucial, more now than ever, to ensure that you are linking in with yourself, recognizing those signs of burnout or distress, and taking the necessary measures to try to, help yourself to heal, to give yourself some downtime, and to try and, nurture, those effective, healthy routines to safeguard your physical and emotional health during this really difficult time. And as healthcare workers, there is a tendency for focusing externally on the needs of those around us. So, friends, families, as well as patients. And we kind of have this common tendency to prioritize the well-being of others over ourselves. And it's important to recognize that we have, a duty of care to ourselves as well, and, maintaining our emotional, and physical well-being so that we can be there and be our best selves for the people around us that need us. We need to be minding ourselves so that we can effectively mind others as well. So on that note, let's take a look now at different ways that we might spot signs of stress and burnout. So, things like burnout, it doesn't happen overnight. It can, build slowly over time. And it really is so important to know how to spot those signs before, it really does become overwhelming and very distressing. So we'll just take a look now at kind of ways that we might spot signs of stress and burnout in ourselves or even in others as well, So it's really important to be on the lookout for those early signs of stress, so that we can have the opportunity to incorporate effective stress management tools into our daily lives and offset those demands that we are experiencing on our emotional and physical resources. So some signs that you may be experiencing burnout are listed here. And this is by no means comprehensive, but these are some of the more common, shall we say, symptoms of stress and burnout. So, exhaustion and fatigue. So feeling tired all the time, or, feeling physically or emotionally drained, just finding it hard to replenish those energy levels and feeling kind of mentally and physically spent, if you will. Negative emotions there, or emotional numbness. So, possibly emotional volatility as well. So you may find yourself experiencing negative emotions, with either increasing frequency or intensity, or even that they're lasting longer, that the kind of cycles of feeling those intense negative emotions might be lasting that bit longer. So things like frustration, anger, anxiety, depression, or, on the flip side of that, you may start to feel emotionally numb. So maybe experiencing a loss of joy or purpose in life, or even feeling kind of disillusioned, whether it be with, with work, professional life, or indeed in our personal lives as well. Feeling overwhelmed then, a lack of motivation, or feeling just uninspired with life, or uninspired with the work that we're doing, or with our personal lives as well. Trouble then concentrating, so inability to focus, maybe memory issues, or struggling with decision making, all maybe signs of burnout or chronic stress, can be a symptom of chronic stress. Interpersonal issues then, so maybe arguing with colleagues or friends and family, a lack of patience or reduced kind of capacity for being patient or compassion, can also be signs of stress as well. Inability to switch off from work then, or an inability to kind of relax, detach, and unwind, which is super important, for that emotional resilience, to give ourselves time to heal from the processes of the day. So if we're finding it difficult to be able to make that time for ourselves to switch off and unwind, that can definitely be a symptom of stress, and a precursor to stress and burnout as well. Physical aches and pains then, also maybe somatic manifestations of stress, digestive issues, perhaps muscle tension. Again, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, trouble sleeping, changes in sleep patterns, sleep disturbances, finding it difficult to fall asleep or to stay asleep, or not really getting that kind of quality of sleep or good duration of sleep either. And then, other things such as changes in appetite. So maybe overeating, or on the other side, skipping meals, making poor nutritional choices, kind of looking for those quick fixes that aren't really nutritionally dense, over time, eating at irregular times, fluctuations in weight, all of those kinds of things. So as I said, not a comprehensive list there, but these are some of the kind of primary or most common symptoms that we might notice, that just might indicate that we are feeling a little bit stressed, and could potentially lead to chronic stress or burnout if we're not intervening or kind of introducing healthy coping skills to deal with that, and to try and mitigate that level of stress and burnout that we're feeling. So then, some practical tips for well-being and self-care to try and offset, those stresses and pressures that we are feeling. So the effects of stress really are, they can be severe and really wide-reaching. So, it is important that we do take steps to ensure that we are caring for our own well-being in preventative ways, as well as intervening when things are becoming a bit overwhelming. So some practical tips here for stress prevention as well as stress management. So power down periods. So what's meant by that? So what we mean by this is allocating power down periods from devices. So news, social media, TV, computers, tablets, phones. So we're in the digital age, and it's super important to make a conscious effort to unplug and disconnect from the online world from time to time. With phones, tablets, computers, etc. There really is an omnipotent stream of information. And that can create constant demands really on our focus and attention, which can lead to mental fatigue, and it can distract us from mindfully engaging with the world and the people around us. So particularly at the moment, there's a lot of information and indeed misinformation surrounding the pandemic, restrictions, general political, logistical, operational management of the crisis. And healthcare and frontline workers, such as yourselves, are already facing immense challenges as the realities of this pandemic. You're faced with that head on throughout your working day, and therefore it really is crucial to allow yourself some mental space for decompression, and to take a break from the opinions and concerns and that dialogue surrounding the subject, so that you're kind of allowing yourself that kind of space to detach and switch off from that narrative. So another one there, creating and maintaining healthy routines. So, adaptive routines and rituals can be really helpful. Research has shown that establishing a good routine can have really good psychological benefits. So things like improved sleep, alleviation of stress and anxiety, enhancing your focus, productivity, performance, all of these really great things. So a good routine enables you to plan out your day or your week or whatever time frame works for you, and to kind of optimize your time so that you can carry out your tasks efficiently and meet your responsibilities, but also that you're budgeting in time to allocate time for self-care and making space for the people and the things in your life that are important to you, and that you enjoy doing or you enjoy spending time with as well. So It is important, though, to mention that, when you are creating a routine, it is important to allow that flexibility as well. So for when life gets in the way, or, when things don't necessarily go according to plan, that you have that kind of adaptability or flexibility inbuilt into your plan. So that'll really improve your likelihood of success in sticking to the plan, and it'll help you to achieve a sense of progress and satisfaction with that plan, rather than kind of setting yourself up for failure with a really strict regimen. And then, if things don't go to plan, things go by the wayside, then feeling that you've failed, or you haven't succeeded in measuring up to that plan, which can kind of actually add to stress and has the opposite of the intended effect. And, as they say, most people overestimate what they can achieve in a week and underestimate what they could do in a month or a year. So, like, my tip would be for creating a sustainable and successful routine, that you start slow and budget your time generously, so that you're giving yourself the best chance of achieving your goals and building in that flexibility as well as you go. So this will create momentum, and then, as you persist and build on that solid foundation, you'll allow the plan to kind of naturally unfold and kind of create the best routines that work for you, with flexibility in there too, as life happens. So, routines and rituals can be really helpful for creating mental boundaries as well. So, such as detaching from work. So, say, maybe taking a few minutes on your commute home, or once you get in the door, just for a quick breathing exercise, say, or maybe a little, a short meditation, couple of minutes, might just allow you to kind of close out the feelings of the day, and create a boundary, in effect, for work-related thoughts and activities. So kind of creating that, like, delineation, for your working day into your personal life then, and kind of also, perhaps you can do that on your commute, as I mentioned. That kind of maximizes your commute, to give yourself the time for just, allocating some self-care time to your mental health, and, a little bit of time for relaxation and decompression from the day, essentially. Preparing your body now to kind of, and your mind to switch over from work mode into, your personal life, and creating that healthy boundary for yourself. Connecting with your values, another one. So, finding acceptance, for the things outside of your control, and then, connecting with the values and the things that are really important to you. So, our values are essentially a set of these fundamental beliefs that we have, about the world and, the people around us, and they kind of guide our interpretation then of life and of the world, and people and experiences. And that then it feeds into our behavior, decision making, and ultimately our direction in life. So, connecting with our values and understanding those kind of base motivations is really key to living a fulfilling life. It gives us the knowledge that allows us to assess any kind of, anomalies or mismatches in the way that we might be behaving or living. And, when our decisions and our lifestyle don't align with our values, we experience kind of psychological or emotional discomfort. And, this is known as dissonance. And, conversely, then, when we live in accordance with our values, or we're kind of being true to those values, or authentic selves, essentially, we kind of feel more content. Our lives feel fulfilled, more purposeful. And that's owing to having a clear vision, for the direction and the actions that we're taking. So the sense of purpose and alignment provides comfort, and then motivation as well to persist through any challenging times, such as what we're experiencing now. And when we can connect our current pain or sacrifice with a larger purpose or meaning that aligns with our values, it really does give us that kind of emotional resilience to persist and to carry on through those tough times. Another one there, engaging in self-care activities. So self-care really is a key component in mitigating and the prevention of stress as well, and burnout. So as well as enabling you to perform to the best of your ability, self-care is essentially, it's maintenance for your body and mind. So just as you might regularly, check your car in for a service to make sure everything is working, and to give everything a bit of a tune up, you want to be doing the same essentially for your own needs, if you also want to remain in good working condition. So it's important to take vacation days to allow you to fully disconnect from the demands of that work environment, to really create that space for yourself, and to heal, and to give yourself the time to rebuild mentally and physically from the pressures and the responsibilities of your profession. creating that space gives you the opportunity to build up that resilience and the psychological development as you process, the experiences that you've been having, what you've been carrying out in the line of your duties, and checking in with yourself as well to identify any support needs that you may have. So sometimes it takes a bit of time for us to kind of stop and process, and having that space to kind of reflect might help us to identify that there might be something that we do need, or something that is lacking, or we might need some professional support, or social support, or whatever it is that we need. Kind of just checking in with ourselves and noticing those things, taking the time to notice those things about ourselves, and nurturing kind of self-compassion attitudes, establishing those boundaries, and asking for help, or engaging in professional or peer support are really all fundamentals of self-care. Another form of self-care, taking physical activity, movement in our body, eating a nutritious diet, getting enough quality sleep, as we spoke a little bit about earlier, all really important, self-care activities. And these all contribute to our stress levels, mood, emotional resilience. It's also worth noting as well that elements of self-care and self-kindness, it can look different to different people as well. So at different times we might need different things for ourselves. So that's why it's really important to be kind of tuning into yourself and noticing what it is that you need. So whether it's taking a bubble bath for some, or snuggling up with a good book, or maybe dancing it out to your favorite song, could be going for a run, working out, whatever it is, just making sure that you take some time in your day to kind of infuse it with some joy and some me time, really taking time out to give yourself what it is that you need, and taking time to switch off from kind of giving to others, and allowing yourself to kind of nurture yourself with kind of self-care. And following on from that, then it's important as well to check in with yourself and monitor kind of helpful and unhelpful coping strategies that we may be relying on, just to ensure that the behaviors that we are engaging in to manage our stress are healthy and productive in the long run. So noticing and addressing any negative coping strategies, things like maybe increasing your alcohol consumption, or withdrawing socially from friends and family. It's just important to kind of check in and notice those things, as that'll allow you to kind of correct those unhealthy or unhelpful behaviors, and maybe make a conscious effort to replace these with more beneficial strategies that might serve you better in the long run. So looking out for those unhealthy coping strategies can also give you a signal, or an indicator, that you are stressed, or an indicator that the circumstances might be that the demands on your resources, or what's expected of you, or what you're expecting of yourself, might be exceeding what your current capacity is, or what you're able to give right now. And if this is the case, I really would urge you to reach out to friends, colleagues, maybe a professional, for support in dealing with that. And I suppose, talking then about healthy versus maybe unhealthy or unhelpful coping skills, just some ideas here around, some of the more helpful coping skills that you might start to kind of implement into your day. So, there are a ton of healthy coping strategies that are proven to be effective in managing stress. And, it may take some time to find an outlet that works for you, or to get the hang of certain practices. So, don't be too hard on yourself if you do struggle to connect, or to find, to establish that consistency when you're implementing these at first, and at different times you might feel drawn to different things, or different things might work, and that's fine too. So playing around a little bit, and just trying different things out and seeing what works for you. So yoga and meditation there, practicing yoga and meditation, it's proven to offset effects of stress. The reasons for this, it helps to regulate breathing, it improves your mood, lowering blood pressure and heart rate, and, activating that kind of deep breathing as well, which is, the next one there, the diaphragmatic breathing, which also plays a role in yoga and meditation. It can help again with relaxation response, lowering blood pressure, that heart rate again, and, just decreasing overall stress. So, these practices can really help improve our mental focus and clarity as well. They can help us improve sleep, boost our energy levels, and really embracing that mind-body connection and engaging in mindful breathing and meditation can help to improve our self-awareness as well, which is helpful to understand our needs and to improve the efficacy of the self-care efforts that we're making, and can help us to kind of create more preventative and early intervention strategies for ourselves. So mindfulness helping us to focus awareness on the present moment, and teaching us to kind of calmly acknowledge and accept our feelings, our thoughts, bodily sensations, and kind of, not necessarily trying to change or manipulate anything, just noticing what's going on for ourselves. Exercise then, physical exercise is super powerful mood booster, and a natural way of reducing stress, through the release of chemical endorphins. And even just one session of high intensity exercise has been actually shown to boost mood and reduce negative emotions. So, a really effective natural mood booster there. Another one there, spending time in nature, taking time in nature, really good for stress busting, essentially. With studies showing that taking time in nature and green areas in particular can improve, blood pressure, sleep duration, and, boost mental health as well. So, and there's also, physiological benefits that it's been linked to, reducing risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and stress overall. So, really useful way of kind of coping with stress, and also helping ourselves to prevent stress levels from getting to an overwhelming level as well. Journaling then, a great way to explore thoughts and feelings is journaling, and it really does help to improve our self-awareness, and allowing us to kind of process those emotions, to offer kind of clarity and healing. So, journaling has actually been shown to improve cognitive function as well. So, as well as reducing stress and negative cognitions or emotions, and just to know, there's no right or wrong way per se of journaling. So do play around with it and explore what feels right for you, and don't put any pressure on yourself as such. It is worth mentioning, I guess, that, the best results are found when you engage in journaling kind of with some type of consistency. But, sporadic journaling can also be helpful in combating negative effects of stress. So, play around and see what feels right for you. Another one then, practicing gratitude. So practicing gratitude can help to improve your emotional well-being by helping you cope with stress, and it can actually may offer, physical health benefits too. So some studies have found that, expressing gratitude or practicing gratitude as such has been linked with fewer signs of heart disease. So, really, really good benefits there to these kind of practices. And then, reaching out to friends and family for support. It really is important that if we are feeling, stressed or burnt out, or just, that we need a little bit of support, that we do reach out when we are feeling that way. These, if you're feeling overwhelmed or struggling to cope, always do reach out and talk to someone, whether it's a friend, a loved one, colleague, professional. There is always help available, and, sharing your concerns can help ease that burden somehow, and, allow you to work towards a more healthy and manageable solution. As they say, a problem shared is a problem halved. And sometimes just by expressing that out loud to somebody else, it can help to give us a new perspective, and just to feel that we're not alone with those thoughts, where sometimes they can kind of spiral a little bit. So, just to recap a little bit on what we've covered today. So, thanking you for your continued efforts and sacrifices. And, I'd like to thank all of the nurses, as well as, other healthcare workers, for the immense sacrifices that you have made over the past year and throughout this pandemic. And, I'd like to thank you for celebrating International Nurses Day with us and with this webinar. And I hope that we have been able to offer some helpful tips for, managing those extra pressures and stresses that you are under at the moment. Some of the things that we covered, the unique stressors of the pandemic, and, the way in which that is impacting our lives. So, by kind of increasing stresses, adding new stresses, and then, obviously impacting our outlets for managing stress as well. So that kind of triple threat in terms of, stress and burnout potential. So then, we covered a little bit about how to maybe spot some of the signs of stress and burnout, checking in with ourselves, just kind of looking out for those kind of indicators so that we might be able to kind of prevent those levels from getting to a space where it feels a little bit out of control or overwhelming. And also looking out for others as well for those signs, supporting our colleagues in that way. And then, we covered off some helpful tips for coping with stress, healthy coping mechanisms, ways to kind of infuse self-care and boosting well-being in our daily lives as a prevention and maintenance method as well, right? And I'd just like to thank you for joining us today, and for taking part in today's webinar. And I really do hope that you got something helpful out of the content that we covered today. And I'd like to wish you all again a very happy International Nurses Day. Thank you.